3 years ago, I was sitting alone at my kitchen table on a Sunday evening, staring at my retirement account and wondering where all the money had gone. There were restaurant receipts scattered across the counter. A subscription I'd forgotten about had renewed that morning. A package from an online shopping spree sat unopened by the front door because I'd already forgotten what I'd ordered. Then I opened my banking app. My checking account held just enough to cover the next week's bills. My savings account had less than $900. I was in my late 50s, earning more than I ever had in my career, contributing to retirement whenever I remembered, yet somehow I still felt like retirement was something that happened to other people. The numbers didn't make sense. I'd worked for decades. I'd received raises. I'd done what everyone told me to do. And yet I couldn't shake the feeling that I was running faster every year while somehow getting nowhere. That week, while reading an article about how different countries prepare for retirement, I stumbled across something unexpected. It wasn't a complicated investment strategy. It wasn't a secret tax loophole. It wasn't another promise of getting rich quickly. Instead, it described the everyday financial habits of ordinary Japanese retirees, people who weren't necessarily earning extraordinary incomes, but were consistently reaching retirement with less stress, more security, and a remarkable sense of contentment. What surprised me most wasn't how complicated their system was. It was the exact opposite. Their habits looked almost too simple to matter. But when I started applying them one by one, something quietly changed. For the first time in years, my savings started growing without feeling like I was sacrificing my life. And I realized the biggest retirement advantage isn't earning more money. It's learning a completely different way to think about the money you already have. At first, I assumed Japan's retirement success came from something Americans simply couldn't copy. Maybe they earned more. Maybe their government benefits were dramatically better. Maybe there was some cultural advantage that made saving easier. But the deeper I looked, the more surprising the reality became. Japan's relationship with money is almost the mirror opposite of America's. In the United States, we're constantly encouraged to spend. New cars signal success. Bigger houses represent progress. Retirement often becomes something we hope will somehow work itself out after decades of consumption. In Japan, the emphasis has traditionally been very different. There's a value that appears repeatedly in discussions about everyday Japanese living: Sutsumashii. The word doesn't translate perfectly into English, but it describes a way of living that is modest, restrained, and intentionally free from unnecessary excess. It isn't about being cheap. It isn't about denying yourself every pleasure. And it certainly isn't about living with constant deprivation. Instead, it's the quiet belief that happiness comes from having enough, rather than constantly chasing more. That single mindset changes almost every financial decision that follows. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this?" the question becomes, "Will this genuinely improve my life?" Instead of upgrading because everyone else is upgrading, people become comfortable keeping things that still serve their purpose. Instead of treating retirement as a distant finish line, they build financial stability through hundreds of ordinary decisions repeated over decades. That's why many Japanese wealth-building habits look almost invisible from the outside.
No flashy investments.
No dramatic financial transformations. No overnight success stories. Just small behaviors that quietly compound year after year. Meanwhile, many Americans unknowingly fight against themselves. Consumer spending continues to dominate household budgets, while relatively few families maintain enough savings to comfortably handle unexpected expenses. The result is that many people reach their later years with higher incomes than previous generations, yet still feel financially vulnerable. The difference isn't usually intelligence. It isn't discipline. And it certainly isn't luck. It's the system of habits operating quietly in the background every single day. That's what fascinated me. These weren't retirement strategies reserved for wealthy executives or investment experts. They were ordinary practices used by teachers, office workers, shop owners, and retirees living remarkably peaceful financial lives. Over the next 10 habits, you'll notice something unexpected. None of them require a six-figure income. None depend on predicting the stock market. And none ask you to completely change your life overnight. They simply replace expensive financial habits with quieter ones that become more valuable every single year. Exactly the kind of steady foundation that makes retirement feel far less stressful and far more secure. The first Japanese habit is called Kikibo. Pronounced kakiichibo, the word roughly translates to household financial ledger. It was introduced in 1904 by Hani Motoko, Japan's first female journalist, who created it to help ordinary families become more intentional with their spending. The idea wasn't to make people obsess over every penny. It was to make every dollar reflect a conscious choice. At the heart of Kikibo are four simple questions. How much money do I have? How much would I like to save? How much am I actually spending? How can I improve? Notice what's missing. There's no complicated spreadsheet. No budgeting app with dozens of categories. No guilt about yesterday's mistakes. Just a quiet weekly habit of paying attention. That's exactly why it works. Instead of wondering where your money disappeared each month, you begin giving every dollar a purpose before it disappears. Over time, those tiny moments of awareness dramatically reduce impulse spending because you're forced to pause before every unnecessary purchase. That pause matters more than most people realize. In the United States, consumer spending accounts for roughly 2/3 of the nation's economic activity, while many households still struggle to build even a modest emergency fund. It's not always because people earn too little. Often it's because small, unconscious purchases quietly consume money that never feels significant in the moment. I learned this the hard way. When I finally started writing down every purchase instead of relying on my banking app, I noticed patterns I'd completely ignored.
Coffee here.
Convenience store snacks there. Random online purchases that seemed harmless by themselves. None of them looked expensive individually. Together, they were costing me hundreds of dollars every month. A friend tried the same habit after constantly complaining that retirement contributions felt impossible. Within 3 months, she hadn't received a raise or changed jobs, yet she found nearly $350 each month simply by eliminating purchases she admitted she barely remembered making. She redirected that money into her retirement account. Invested consistently over the years, that single change could grow into tens of thousands of dollars without requiring her to earn another dollar. That's the quiet genius of Kikibo. It doesn't begin by asking you to make more money. It begins by helping you finally see where the money you already have is quietly slipping away. At this point, you might be wondering something. If these habits are so simple, why don't more people naturally do them? Because personal finance isn't primarily a math problem. It's a behavioral problem. Your brain is constantly looking for the easiest path available. Every time spending becomes effortless, your brain is more likely to repeat it without conscious thought. One click, one tap, one swipe. The less effort required, the more automatic the behavior becomes. Behavioral scientists call this reducing friction. When buying something requires almost no effort, your brain has almost no opportunity to question the decision. That's why adding even a tiny amount of friction, like writing purchases down in a notebook before making them or waiting until tomorrow before buying, can dramatically reduce unnecessary spending. Another part of the brain plays an important role here, the amygdala. The amygdala is responsible for emotional reactions. It loves immediate rewards and quick relief. After a stressful day, it doesn't care about your retirement 20 years from now. It wants the small burst of pleasure that comes from clicking buy now. Japanese money habits quietly interrupt that emotional loop. Instead of reacting automatically, they create a brief pause between emotion and action. That pause gives the logical part of your brain enough time to ask a simple question. Do I actually need this? Surprisingly often, the answer becomes no. There's another psychological principle working in the background called Parkinson's Law. Originally applied to work, it states that tasks expand to fill the time available. Financially, something similar happens with income. Expenses naturally expand to consume whatever money is available unless you intentionally create limits. Someone earning $60,000 often feels just as financially stretched as someone earning $120,000 because spending quietly rises alongside income. That's why so many high-income earners still struggle to retire comfortably. Japanese frugal habits reverse this pattern. Instead of allowing spending to rise automatically, they deliberately create small boundaries that force savings to happen first. The brain gradually adapts to living within those boundaries, making disciplined behavior feel normal instead of restrictive. This is why lasting financial success rarely comes from willpower alone. Willpower gets tired. Systems don't. The habits you're about to see aren't powerful because they're complicated. They're powerful because they work with the way your brain naturally makes decisions instead of constantly fighting against it. And once your environment starts encouraging better choices automatically, building wealth for retirement becomes much less about self-control and much more about repeating a system that quietly works every single day. The second habit is built around a simple Japanese word, chokin. Literally translated, chokin means to save or to store away. For generations, it has represented something much deeper than simply leaving money in a bank account. It reflects the belief that financial security is created little by little, long before it's ever needed. In modern life, that philosophy becomes incredibly powerful. Instead of saving whatever happens to be left over at the end of the month, people practicing chokin reverse the order. Savings happen first. Spending adjusts afterward. That may sound like a small difference. Mathematically, it's enormous. Most Americans save only after every bill, every subscription, every impulse purchase, and every weekend expense has already claimed its share. Unsurprisingly, many households reach the end of the month with very little remaining to save. The Japanese approach removes that decision entirely. The money is moved before emotions, advertisements, or unexpected temptations ever have a chance to compete for it. I tried this myself by scheduling an automatic transfer every payday. The amount wasn't dramatic. Just $250 every month. At first, I barely believed it would matter. But because the transfer happened automatically, I stopped treating that money as available to spend. Within a few months, saving no longer felt like a sacrifice. It simply became part of how my finances worked. Here's where the math becomes exciting. Investing $250 every month at an average annual return of 8% for 30 years grows to approximately $340,000. Not because of extraordinary stock picking. Not because of taking dangerous risks. Simply because small, consistent contributions were given enough time to compound. That's the lesson chokin quietly teaches. The size of the habit matters far less than its consistency. A reader once shared that after automating just $150 per month, she completely stopped arguing with herself over whether she could afford to save. The decision had already been made before payday arrived. 5 years later, she had accumulated more savings than during the previous 15 years combined. That's what makes this habit so powerful. It doesn't rely on motivation. It doesn't require perfect discipline. It removes the daily decision altogether. And over decades, those ordinary monthly deposits compound into something extraordinary, turning a habit that feels almost invisible today into hundreds of thousands of dollars that can make retirement dramatically easier tomorrow. By now, you may have noticed something surprising. None of these Japanese habits are revolutionary on their own. Writing down your spending isn't revolutionary. Saving automatically isn't revolutionary. Waiting before making a purchase isn't revolutionary. Yet together, they consistently produce something that many people spend decades chasing, a retirement built on confidence instead of constant financial worry.
Why?
Because these habits aren't isolated tricks. They're parts of the same system. Imagine trying to grow a tree by focusing only on the fruit. You polish the apples. You count the branches. You even paint the leaves green. But if the soil underneath is poor, the tree never truly thrives. Money works the same way. Most people focus on the visible results, retirement balances, investment returns, paid-off homes, or net worth. Those are the fruit. The Japanese approach focuses on the soil. That soil is financial literacy, not simply knowing investment terms or understanding the stock market, but developing daily behaviors that quietly support every financial decision you make. When the soil is healthy, good decisions happen more naturally. Saving becomes automatic. Impulse spending becomes less frequent. Investing becomes consistent. Retirement stops depending on perfect market timing or sudden income increases. Instead, it grows steadily through hundreds of small choices that reinforce one another. That's why these habits continue working even during difficult economic periods. Markets rise and fall. Inflation comes and goes. Jobs change. Unexpected expenses appear. But someone with strong financial habits usually adapts far more easily than someone relying on willpower alone. The system keeps working because the foundation remains intact. Looking back, that's what changed my own finances more than anything else. It wasn't one brilliant investment. It wasn't earning dramatically more money. It wasn't discovering some hidden financial secret. It was replacing unconscious habits with intentional ones until they became part of everyday life. Over time, those ordinary decisions began producing extraordinary results. That's the lesson I believe many Americans overlook when thinking about retirement. The goal isn't to copy every aspect of Japanese culture. The goal is to adopt the principles that make those habits so effective. Because retirement security isn't usually built by one life-changing decision. It's built by thousands of ordinary decisions that no one notices while you're making them. Healthy soil rarely gets the attention. Everyone notices the harvest. But without the soil, the harvest never comes. The 10 habits we've explored are simply different ways of strengthening that foundation so that years from now, when retirement arrives, the financial life you've cultivated has the strength to support you with far less stress and far more freedom. I'd like you to picture that kitchen table again. The one I told you about at the beginning. The unopened packages. The forgotten subscriptions. The retirement account that felt far too small after decades of working. Back then, I honestly believed my biggest problem was that I didn't earn enough. I thought retirement security belonged to people with higher salaries, better investment advice, or luck that I simply didn't have. I couldn't have been more wrong. The real change didn't begin when my income changed. It began when my habits changed. Not overnight. Not through some life-changing financial breakthrough. Just one quiet decision at a time. I started paying attention instead of guessing. I learned to save before I spent instead of hoping something would be left at the end of the month. I became comfortable choosing enough instead of always wanting more. Those decisions felt almost insignificant in the moment. But over the months, they became routines. Over the years, those routines became a completely different financial life. Today, when I sit at that same kitchen table, it feels different. Not because I've become wealthy beyond imagination. Not because every financial worry has disappeared, but because I no longer wonder where my money went. I know where it's going. More importantly, I know why it's going there. That's a kind of peace no purchase can ever provide. And that's the quiet lesson behind these Japanese habits. They aren't really about spending less. They're about worrying less. They're about replacing financial uncertainty with confidence built one ordinary decision at a time. Retirement doesn't suddenly become easier because you discover one perfect investment or one brilliant budgeting trick. It becomes easier because every small choice starts pulling in the same direction instead of competing against itself. That's the power of a system. If there's one habit I'd encourage you to start today, don't worry about mastering all 10 at once. Choose just one. Practice it until it feels natural. Then let the next one build on top of it. Years from now, you probably won't remember the exact day you began, but you'll almost certainly appreciate that you did. Because the future version of you won't be grateful for the expensive purchases you've long forgotten. They'll be grateful for the quiet habits that gave them freedom when they needed it most. Sometimes the biggest changes in life don't begin with dramatic moments. They begin at an ordinary kitchen table, with one small decision to think differently about the money you already have and the retirement you're quietly building, one thoughtful habit at a time.